I'd like to just firstly call on Minister Deenihan to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Chairman of Leitrim County Council, Paddy O'Rourke, Senator Pascal Mooney, Councillors McCarthy and Barry, and the Chairperson, Bernie O'Rourke, County Manager, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you this wonderful part of the world in a glorious afternoon. You couldn't have wished for better weather in a better place, really. So I'm really thrilled to be with you for the opening of this really great initiative here and a great project. Why I say that is I was involved in a similar project in my home village of Finnoog some years ago, where we restored a wonderful thatched cottage. It was built probably back in the 19th century, and I think Bernie may have been influenced by that, because she has relatives down in Lixna, my home parish, and she often passes by Finnoog. She would have seen this wonderful cottage, no doubt, so maybe she got some of the inspiration for Margaret's cottage here. But first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the committee under Bernie. Obviously, we put in a lot of work to get a project like this to completion. Takes major commitment, and it's not simple and it's not easy, and it takes a lot of endurance and patience, and also obviously fundraising. And I would like to acknowledge that, being involved in a number of community initiatives over the years. I have great respect, really, and understanding for people who will embark upon a creative project like this and bring it to fruition in such a very, very high standard as well, let me say. Also, I would like to acknowledge the contribution of Leitrim Leader Group, because they provided the funding for this project, and I think it's one that the Leader company should be very proud of as well, because it's a sustainable project, but also it represents something very, very special as well. The story of Margaret of New Orleans, and I'm delighted that you're acknowledging her contribution that she made afterwards to New Orleans, but also her connection here with Tully. And I understand the only thing that was here really was the well, which you used to refer to as Margaret's Well. But building on that connection, you've created something really very special here. And I was just looking at the house, and it's a great, I suppose, replica of what traditional thatched cottage was at that particular time. I understand you recreated and replicated the authentic mud walls. I was looking at the thatched roof here, and also the fact of the timbers you used, and also, I suppose, the straw you used, the headers, all really very authentic. And your open fire certainly will be used, I'm sure, in a lot of sets in the future, maybe for films and so on, because they're always looking for that particular, I suppose, set in films and for photographs and so on. So I think this is going to be a very attractive tourist attraction in the future, and it's very well signposted as well, let me say, getting here. And the fact that its remoteness adds to, I suppose, its attractiveness. The fact that you're out here in the middle of, as I say, a beautiful part of the world, in a rural rustic atmosphere, and that then you have that huge connection with Margaret of New Orleans. And I was in New Orleans for St. Patrick's Day in 2012, and I was walking down anyway the street, and I saw the statue, and it was Margaret Gaffney. And so I was delighted when I got the invitation of being here, because I had that experience. And then I inquired about Margaret Gaffney, and there's a very strong Irish community in New Orleans, actually, and it goes back generations. And I'll tell you the reason for that afterwards. But Margaret Gaffney, as you know, is a huge figure in New Orleans, and she was recognised when she died with a state funeral in New Orleans. You're very aware of that, no doubt. And that was quite unique at that particular time. And her work in the orphanages over a period of time. She, as you know, she was orphaned when she was very young, and she arrived in New Orleans very earlier on in her life, was married there and lost her husband and a child as well. So because of that influence, she got involved with the nuns in orphanages and also established her own orphanage as well. And I was looking at her story, and she even established a bakery in order to supply food for those orphanages and also asylums. So she made a huge impact in New Orleans. And as you know, there's that movement on to canonize her, which is the movement that's going on at the moment. And I'm delighted that people from New Orleans will be coming here to visit, you understand, in September, towards furthering her beatification in the future. But a lot of people don't realize that thousands of people left at the famine time, and this is when she was providing orphanages out in New Orleans, from this part of the country, from Donegal, Leitrim, from Northern Ireland to Liverpool. And at that time, Liverpool was the port of the empire, and there were cotton ships coming from Louisiana, and they were going back as ships for passengers, people fleeing from the famine. So they were bringing cotton to Liverpool to be dispersed around England, and they were taking back people who were fleeing from the famine. And a large number of people, about 300,000, arrived in New Orleans over a period of time from Ireland, and mostly from this part of the world, over a period of time in New Orleans during the famine. And those people, they were building the levees in New Orleans at that time, and the slave owners, slavery was still in place in America back then, and especially in the southern states, and the slave owners wouldn't allow their slaves to be used in building the levees because of disease, because of malaria, and it was the Irish immigrants in the famine that built most of the levees, and many of them died on it. So obviously there would have been a lot of Irish orphans as well, or ones that went over in those ships. A lot of the children of those people were orphaned. So I would say there was a huge Irish contingent as well in those orphanages at that time, of those people that were directly descended from parents that were fleeing from this part of the country, the famine. So there's that huge connection there that I'm sure that you will pick on as you develop the project. Also, there's a very active group. The EOH is very active and very strong in New Orleans, and I'm sure that a project like this is now something that they will really connect with. And the National Famine Commemoration is on in New Orleans in November. I will be going there, and certainly this is a connection here that I might be able to promote for you in New Orleans at that time. Also, they have a major Irish film festival in New Orleans, and Brad Pitt, you know, he really started the filming industry there quite recently, since their, I suppose, disaster down there when the levees burst and all the, I suppose, hardship that brought with it at that time. So they have, the film industry is really buoyant there, and there's an Irish Film Festival there every year as well. So a connection with what you're doing here in New Orleans is a very important one, both from an immigration point of view, but also that famine connection, the fact that Margaret of New Orleans was such a prominent woman in New Orleans, and also, I suppose, going forward, that whole genealogical connection as well, where you have so many people now in America that are coming back to trace their Irish roots. Every week, you know, I get an inquiry from connections in America that somebody is going back, and to help them, where would they go to get information? So I think that what you have done here is going to be very helpful in that respect. And we both, I suppose, come from counties, we all come from counties like Leitrim and Kerry, where there was huge immigration from both counties. So there's a huge connection out there in UK, but more especially probably in the US, in Australia, with both counties. And I think that what you're doing here can build on that connection, and I suppose now can capitalise on it as well to try to attract more people to come here to Leitrim, and especially to this part of Leitrim. So I'm delighted to be here with you, and I will be going shortly to see your local theatre company that won the All-Ireland Drama Festival, and I'm delighted that you did so well, Con Mill Group, and I come from a town in Kerry that's steeped in drama, as you probably know, and you probably performed some of John B. Keane's plays up here. We have produced some of the greatest dramatists, I think, in this country, and also writers. But John B. Keane's plays, obviously, Big Maggie, The Field, Sive, and all the rest, would be very well known up here. So I'm delighted that you're keeping that great tradition of the stage alive up here, and also very successful as well, because Leitrim, found it rather difficult always to win, the Sam Maguire. It's kind of but certainly you can compensate for that by winning the All-Ireland Drama Festival. So anyway, again, congratulations. This is just a wonderful achievement, and in any way should not be underestimated, or you should not underestimate what you have achieved here, because this is just wonderful, and thank you all very much. And I'd like to be joined here as well by Father Murray, who happens was just with an old teacher of mine, Father O'Leary, and Father O'Leary sings his blessings, which is a great thing to get now from a priest this time of our life. Their blessing. Thank you very much.